Well, hello and welcome to another edition of the Brand Central Podcast. I'm Mark Hayes, your host for another amazing edition. And yes, we are still dealing with an incredible amount of uncertainty around our communities, around us, surrounding our jobs, our health, social justice, so many issues right now. You may be feeling a bit overwhelmed. So to help you out, we've got an expert in mindfulness. Angela Buttimer joins us now from the Atlanta Center for Mindfulness and Wellbeing to talk a little bit about some of the tools that you can use to help you deal with everything that's going on. Angela, what a pleasure to see you. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks so much for having me, Mark. I'm glad to be on with you.
Absolutely. Well, let's start with the overwhelming stuff. If you turn on the news and you engross yourself in it, wow, you can really become overwhelmed by everything that's going on in so many different directions.
Yes, it's very easy to get swept up in negative momentum. Although we say that we prefer peace over drama, in mindfulness, we know that the egoic mind always wants momentum, even if it's negative. And so for some of my clients and students, I ask them to go on a bit of a news diet. You know, we all want to stay informed as citizens. It's super important, and the news is super important in our lives, but we need to take breaks from time to time and just monitor as a part of self-awareness how we're feeling after we've watched something.
Right, right. And, so how do we do that? How do we kind of just wean ourselves off of something that has been so routine for so long? Our natural reflex in the morning, just turn on the news.
It's
How do we
hard.
change our routine?
It is hard. I have a lot of clients who also, watch the news while they're eating dinner too, or right before bed, and then they take all of that drama into sleep. And so again, I do think it's important that we're informed citizens. What I suggest to people is that they schedule their news time, even during acute situations like we find ourselves in now, to schedule it. If I look at my calendar, let me mark some dates that are most important for me to tune in, whether it's with the newspaper, the phone, the internet, and television.
Yeah, good idea. Good idea. But so let's talk a little bit about the uncertainty surrounding how people are going to take care of their families. One, with their health. Number two, with their employment. We have 45, 50 million people unemployed right now. How do we deal with the fear of the unknown when it comes to small business owners like you and I? We worry about making sure that we can keep contracts. Those people that are working for big companies are worried about layoffs, and some people have already been laid off and are deal with the new normal, trying to find jobs in this kind of climate. It's a tough go any way you slice it.
It's a really tough go. And also, even beyond just the exact consequences of the pandemic, you also have personal crises going on top of it, like divorces and poor health diagnoses, and of course, some of the smaller issues like missed graduation and prom and annual vacations. And so people are really feeling it. There's also this piece that we call ambiguous grief and loss that people are feeling. And that's just this pervasive sense of unpredictability, the unknown, because no one really knows how things are going to unfold and what that new normal will look like. The good news, though, is that there are some strategies that we can implement culturally, collectively, as well as individually.
I know you're a big proponent of meditation,
Yes.
affirmation, and positive reinforcement, and injecting yourself with positive thoughts. For someone who has not done that and has not been practicing that, where do they begin?
So this is a time in our lives where those platforms are so readily accessible. There are many ways to learn these different strategies, mind-body strategies that are well-researched, proven techniques, beginning with things like meditation. And so you have seasoned teachers that you can reach out to if you want to do something one-on-one or in groups. You also have lots of apps and YouTube videos, books and articles. So many ways to get started. It just depends on your preference for learning.
Okay. So let's talk a little bit about the leadership. If you're, we don't often talk about CEOs unless it's something negative. They got some huge, parachute, golden parachute. But they've got to be under a lot of stress too, because this new normal is putting a lot of pressure on them to figure out ways to be productive, to keep their companies in the black. And they've got to make some hard choices when it comes to profits and people. So
Mm.
when you talk about mindfulness and leadership, what kind of leaders do we need right now?
I think it's imperative, Mark, now more than ever, that we create space for emotionally intelligent, mindful leaders to emerge in our workplaces, in our community organizations, and in our homes, because these are the people that can tune in to their employees, their citizens, their peers, and really understand their diverse experiences of what they're going through right now and respond more skillfully. So, mindful leadership are capable, competent, collaborative, and caring leaders who can take people to higher ground and give them a sense of hope and reassurance that people really need right now.
Yeah, reassurance. Wow, that that's the buzzword of the day. When you talk about some of the ripple effects of the pandemic and being quarantined, we were shut in for the longest time. Now we're going backwards, it seems, with the pandemic and the numbers of cases rising. We may have to do it again. I know that was a difficult time for many people. I mean, we were forced to communicate again. We were forced to stay in close quarters, and some of our relationships may have suffered. If you're in that boat, what do you do to kind of sort of fix it?
Luckily, even though we are quarantined within our houses, we can still set boundaries within our homes. So even very healthy relationships, or maybe especially healthy relationships, I suggest that you don't have to compromise every single decision and activity with those that you're living with. That can put way too much pressure on even the best of relationships. So we have to reconfigure how we do things, what we're choosing for dinner, what activities we're going into, and really checking in with ourselves from a place of self-awareness and asking ourselves, what do I really need and want today? And being able to mindfully communicate that to the people in our household so that we can bring down some of the distress.
Yeah, yeah. It sounds easy enough, but under these circumstances, we understand how important mindful communication is. Is there a way for us to get better and become more mindful communicators, or are we born with it or not?
So that's a great question, Mark. I'm a big believer in setting the tone for your day in the morning. How we start our day is what we're going to thread through the rest of our day. So creating a positive morning ritual first thing in the morning is going to assure that you're going to be at least better at communicating and with relationships in your home and in the workplace. So figuring out, the most successful people in the world have a positive morning ritual. Most of those include meditation. So taking time to become contemplative, reflective, tune in, get grounded, feel more confident and empowered before you emerge back into the world and connect and engage with others.
Oh, wow, great advice, great advice. And Angela, so how can people find you? How can they get your services? Because you would seem to me like somebody that's extremely busy right now during this time, just helping people sort out all their feelings and all their thoughts, so they can become productive. Because a lot of times we focus on the negative and we forget that we've got to keep moving forward and, kind of sort of find the magic in the tragic.
Well, I'm so glad you brought up working with thoughts and feelings because that's a big part of mindfulness practice. It's super important and super empowering. So people can reach me at path2bestself.com if they would like to learn more.
Okay. And who's your typical client? Do you work with just CEOs or do you work with, everyday Joes like me?
Well, I love working with entrepreneurs, Mark. It's one of my
Good.
passions. But I also do a lot of work in the C-suite arena of leaders, but I also have a super sweet spot for emerging leaders.
Awesome.
People who are really looking at who they want to become and how they want to lead in their own authentic, unique ways.
Right, right, right. And I noticed you've been on Good Day Atlanta quite a bit lately. What's that experience been like for you? And you've really been able to touch the Atlanta audience in what's been a very difficult time.
I have really been honored and delighted that they continue to invite me back to speak on these topics that are so important to my heart and spirit. But, I know that it's also important to the clients that I see individually and in corporate America. So it's been really wonderful to have that platform to get my message out, to have a further reach, and hopefully help a lot of people along the way.
Yeah, yeah. I think the more people know and understand what mindfulness means and to see how much value it can add to their lives and to their professional lives and personal lives, um, I think you're going to continue to be very, very busy and have a blossoming practice
Aw,
that's already very successful. All right, Angela, what a pleasure. And we will see you soon. Thanks so much for stopping by.
thanks, Mark.